How's it going, Eliminators? Today I'm going to be showing you one thing that you absolutely need to check before reassembling your snowblower's auger housing. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So today in the shop I have in front of me a Cub Cadet 10.5/30 two-stage snowblower that we've owned for quite a few years now. You may have actually seen the back half of this snowblower over here somewhere. If you go back in my videos, I'm going to say maybe 4.5 years ago. We purchased this snowblower back in late 2018, I believe, and we got a really good deal on it because unfortunately the person I had bought it from ended up hitting something and the gear as well as the gearbox housing broke apart and was completely destroyed. So if I pull this out, you guys will be able to get to see a little more of the destruction here. There's the rest of it there, or half of it, I guess you could say. And I mean, it was real bad, guys. So not only would I have had to purchase the gearbox housing itself, but unfortunately the shafts and the soft metal worm gear was also heavily damaged. So after this had sat for so many years, finally came time where we just wanted to reassemble this thing so that we could sell it. And I had to decide whether or not I was going to purchase all the parts individually that I would need, or simply just go ahead and replace the auger gearbox assembly direct from MTD. And that's what I did. It ended up being cheaper. Because I'm an MTD dealer, I ended up getting this 30-inch auger gearbox fully assembled for about $173 Canadian. There was a great deal of savings there for myself compared to me going out and buying the first stage auger shaft, the second stage impeller shaft, the worm gear, the gearbox housing, all new bolts, gaskets, seals, all the thrust washers I would have needed. The whole thing would have been way too expensive. But the purpose of today's video is not going to be how to disassemble or reassemble one of these, because I already do have one of those videos, and you're more than welcome to click in the top right of the screen, and I can also link that video in the description as well. The topic of today's video is the one thing you want to check before reassembling this auger housing, and that is going to be the proper alignment of these two auger fins. Now what you'll see here as I pull over the engine with the auger or impeller lever engaged is the first stage spinning around, and you'll notice that the top spins towards the front downwards. So as those auger fins are spinning from the top down towards the front, the spirals are aiming in towards the center of the second stage impeller there. And because obviously you're driving forward, all of that snow gets pushed back in to the second stage, which then gets thrown up the discharge chute anywhere you aim it. What a lot of people don't know is there is going to be a left-hand side and a right-hand side. And if you swap them, your snowblower will not throw snow as well as it should. Now you might think, well, how often could something like that happen? And I can assure you it happens quite frequently. Now I have never personally had a snowblower brought in with this issue. However, if you're as active on the snowblower forums as I am, it is a topic that's occasionally posted about when someone purchases a second-hand unit from someone and they notice that it just isn't throwing snow like it should, or if they've done some work themselves, reassembled it, not knowing that those auger fins have to be installed in the correct positions. And I can show you a couple examples of what that would look like. So in front of us, we have my 10.5/30. These auger fins are installed correctly. Again, you can notice that all of the auger fins are aiming towards the center. So I can now post some photos that I found on the snowblower forum when looking. And all of these snowblowers have one thing in common. Every single one of them, you'll notice, has the auger fins installed in the incorrect positions. Again, that snowblower is not going to work as well as it should, guys, especially on some of these older ones, which hardly ever clog. If you were to use one of these snowblowers, you would say, this thing sucks. It hardly throws any snow. Now you saw some still photos of what the auger would look like, but what about some video of how it actually looks like in action? Well, I was able to find some photos and videos of a user that did post his driveway. He said his snowblower would always leave these really long lines of snow off to the sides, and that's one indication that your auger fins could be installed backwards. Again, instead of scooping that snow in, it's pushing it towards the outside. And I can actually post a video of that. This was filmed vertically, so I will have to enlarge it a little bit. But as you'll see, the gentleman here is driving the snowblower forward, and what's happening is all of the snow is simply being pushed off to the sides, and there's hardly any snow coming out of the front chute. I can now post the video that he filmed of the auger in action. Basically, you guys can see as clear as day that the auger fins are rotating forward and those spirals are clearly moving towards the outsides of that auger housing. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, how exactly does something like that happen? Well, a lot of times it comes down to people just not being experienced enough with these snowblowers. Additionally, you're going to notice that on these snowblowers, this one in particular has a shear bolt that is offset to the right side, so they're not exactly center. So you would think, well, how could you take this one and simply install it on that side? And the answer is, when someone takes this auger gearbox apart and they disassemble things, and then what happens is they go to reassemble this thing and they take the one from here and they flip it and they install it over there without realizing. And regardless of whether you take the one side and move it over, or if you were to take it and flip it and move it over, the end result is going to be, as that auger rotates forward, the spiral moves the snow towards the outside. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention is one thing that's going to be the least common but still very much a possibility, and that's going to be having an incorrect auger fin installed on a snowblower direct from the factory. And I actually heard of one story where they used two right-hand sides instead of a right hand and a left-hand side. So someone bought this snowblower new from Sears. I believe it was a Sears Craftsman. This was years and years ago when I first started doing small engine repair, and was just a story that I heard from a friend. The snowblower really didn't work as good as it should have and would always leave a pile of snow out to one side. And the gentleman just really didn't think much of it until he took it in for repair. And sure enough, both of the fins had the spirals aiming to this side. So what happened was they may have ran out of the left-hand side auger spiral from the factory, and a factory worker that wasn't trained properly or didn't know enough simply grabbed one from the other parts bucket and installed two right-hand auger fins, and all of that snow would have completely went off to the one side. So that is something that you guys want to check. It's going to be easy enough to do. Now, you're going to notice that this snowblower, it's got some nice yellow paint on it. I can put a photo of what the auger housing looked like when we first got it. That thing was covered in rust and it looked really bad. We took a wire wheel to it to clean up that surface rust as best we could. And then we used some of our super spec heavy duty industrial yellow paint. And once again, we went out to Port Paint and Paper and we ended up getting what they call yellow flash. And this was custom mixed up for us. So what they do is they just scan one of the clean parts of the paint here, and they ended up going and taking a little bit and they painted over wherever these arrows are here. So you guys can see it's nearly identical. We painted that auger housing. The thing looked absolutely awesome. We also painted the second stage impeller as well as those auger fins there. So this snowblower here now has a completely brand new 30-inch auger gearbox that was fully assembled. Two new first stage shear bolts there because the older HD or heavy duty Cub Cadet snowblowers used the shear bolts and not the shear pins. This thing ended up getting a brand new impeller bearing out back. The belts were in great condition, so we didn't change them, but it has a new friction wheel. It has all new bushings and bearings. And if you want to see how to replace a friction wheel or bushings and bearings on one of these snowblowers, I actually just recently posted a video working on a Craftsman or a Yardworks made by MTD, which is identical to this Cub Cadet here. So you could actually use either model number to source parts and they would both be identical except for the color code of the paint on some of those parts. I can link that video in the top right of your screen or in the description down below as well. Other than that, we installed some brand new skid plates up front and we fully serviced the engine, spark plug, oil change, brand new carburetor. This thing fires up first pull, runs great, and is ready for sale. And I do have a customer that's interested in purchasing it. I believe he's coming down to buy it. And these older MTD snowblowers go through just about anything, guys. Again, this is a 10.5 30, and it does have a larger second stage impeller than a lot of these newer snowblowers. This machine also has power steering, so it will literally do circles around some of this new equipment that has come out today that simply doesn't perform as well as these older units do. And instead of having a single 5/8 belt, this model does have the dual triple half-inch belts, so it's referred to as a triple belt snowblower, which gives the impeller a lot more traction and will be less likely to slip, making sure that that second stage impeller throws as much snow as you can push into it. But again, you guys aren't going to be throwing any snow if you have your auger fins installed incorrectly. Well, that's going to wrap up today's video. I know not a repair, but informational enough because a lot of people can confuse which side those auger fins go onto, and there is going to be a left and a right, and if you do mix them up, you saw the results in today's video. So before reassembling your snowblower's auger housing, make sure you put them on the right side. But with that being said, if you guys enjoyed today's video, think about leaving me a thumbs up. You know, it really helps me out. You can click here to subscribe and click over here to watch one of my previous videos. I upload every single week, so be sure to stop on by next week, check channel out for new content, and as always, guys, thanks for watching.